So I am going to touch on sort of what everybody else is thinking about, right? If you are a Pennsylvania employer right now, lifted the mask mandate. And I know we have questions. I don't know how many questions Jane has gotten on the hotline so far this morning, but I would imagine there's more than one. So the order came out yesterday. There's no longer a statewide requirement to wear masks or practice social distancing in Pennsylvania. The exceptions remain healthcare and mass transportation. I know people are asking us, well, what about the employee screening requirements that have been in place in Pennsylvania? What about the quarantine, isolation, and contact tracing requirements and recommendations? You guys have heard me say this before. The executive order with regard to employee screening and temperatures in the workplace has not been revoked officially. That's really all I can tell you. It's not clear at this point if when Governor Wolf said mitigation measures are lifted, that he was including those. I know in practice, I'm talking to a lot of members who are phasing those things out. But I think you really want to think hard and long about the employee screening and whether or not that is something you want to phase out. I think one of the great takeaways, hopefully, from this pandemic will be that people don't come to work sick anymore. So I think it is a nice reminder for people to get that email every morning or to do that screening and to remember that, yeah, I don't feel well today, I shouldn't go to work. And as far as the quarantine, isolation, and contact tracing, continue to follow CDC guidance. Now that Pennsylvania has come out with this order, we are revamping our safety guidances that we have in member tools on the website. Quite honestly, they've gotten a lot shorter, but it's something to think about. You know, what do you still want to be doing? Just because the masking requirement has been lifted in Pennsylvania doesn't mean that you have to lift it in your workplace. It's really something to think about. You still have an obligation as an employer to provide a safe workplace, and you can do more than the law requires. And this goes back to something that I've talked to you guys about before. I think it's a great idea to track vaccination rates in the workplace, get copies of employees' cards. If for no other reason, it helps you assess your risk. We have a different risk if 30% of our employees are vaccinated versus 90% of our employees are vaccinated. If you're a sports fan, it's something that's playing out in all the various professional leagues. In the professional leagues that have very high vaccination rates, a lot of the COVID issues are going away. I saw this morning, I think that 99% of WNBA players are vaccinated. They have not had a positive case since their season started, versus other sports that are having issues, having players sit out of playoff games because they are testing positive, because there's not enough sort of herd immunity within the sports league. So I think that's something to remember. So you may want to keep masking in place if you have very low vaccination rates in your workplace. So we will send out a copy of this survey. I talked about this last week as well, but I think it's really interesting as we return to work. 62% of employers are providing or considering providing paid time off for getting vaccinated. 59% of employers are considering on-site or near-site vaccination administration for employees. 58% offering or considering offering more leave for employees with negative reactions from the vaccine. Only 2 in 10 respondents offering or considering providing financial incentives for getting vaccinated, but a majority of employers are requiring both vaccinated and unvaccinated employees to wear masks indoors. My guess that number is going to go down as time goes on. All right, so that's the actual COVID update piece. If you have questions on that, feel free to chat them in. We'll get to them if we can. If not, if you're a member, please feel free to reach out to Jane or to me with your additional questions. There is one other thing I wanted to touch on, and I did touch on this last week, but I think it bears repeating. On the anniversary of the Supreme Court's ruling in Bostock v. Clayton County, and during Pride Month, the EEOC has announced a new landing page and technical assistance documents for LGBTQ+ issues in the workplace. And I pulled out just a couple of what I thought were some of the more interesting questions out of there to take a look at. Oops, sorry about that. As far as workplace attire goes, we've told you guys before to take a look at your dress code policies and take a look at your appearance policies. You can't require an employee to dress in accordance with their gender assigned at birth. That could constitute a gender identity or sex discrimination. And then also the issue of bathrooms, locker rooms, and showers. We actually get this question quite a bit on Hotline. What do we do with that? You can segregate your bathrooms, locker rooms, or shower rooms, male versus female, but keep in mind that if it's a locker room, a shower, or a bathroom for men, that includes transgender men, and vice versa. If it's a bathroom, locker room, or shower for women, that includes transgender women. And then, of course, the use of pronouns and names, that's just something we started talking about here at MEA. I've updated my signature block to include my pronouns. It's something to consider, especially for folks in HR. If you want to be a more inclusive environment, let's put our pronouns in our signature blocks so people know, and we normalize it, right? We normalize the practice. But keep in mind that if you are using pronouns that are inconsistent with someone's gender identity, or if you're using the name that they used to identify with, they don't identify with anymore, that's called dead naming, that also could be considered evidence of discrimination under Title VII. So things to think about if you are facing issues around LGBTQ+, particularly issues around transgender employees in the workplace, and you're not really sure what to do, but you want to do the right thing, feel free to reach out to us. We can talk to you in member legal services. We can talk to you on the hotline. And also, obviously, probably all know Sienna Williams. She was with us recently on a town hall. She can do some consulting with you on DEI issues in general. All right. So Kevin, did we have any questions come through?
We do. Well, let's deal with the COVID question first. Someone asked a question, 2 of 15 employees are not vaccinated. They want to confirm that they can require those 2 individuals to wear masks during work. Yes,
absolutely. An employer can still do more than is required by the state. And yes, if they don't wear the mask, you can take disciplinary action. But I think it's really important, just like with any other rule in the workplace, you're publishing this, you're getting it out there, you're educating employees that this is what we're going to do, and these are going to be the consequences if you fail to do what we've said to do.
And it's interesting, the other question, which I just was speaking to our expert not 20 minutes ago, and it's not so irrelevant, but are other employers seeing a huge uptick in fraudulent unemployment claims? Absolutely. Right now, that is one of the major issues. If you are in Pennsylvania, they just turned over their system to a new system, and people have taken advantage of that. So Judy Snyder, who is our partner from Corporate Cost Control, they do tremendous job with outsourced unemployment administration, but she said last week she looked at 100 claims and all but one of those were fraudulent claims. So please keep, a couple of things to do is please keep an eye on those. They're also sending those to the finance person at HR. So you want to make sure your finance department's aware of this. We actually had it happen at MEA. I was told that I had left my job and was seeking unemployment compensation, which was quite a shock. But then I found out a lot of CEOs that's happening to. Just like I said, just talking to Judy, and we talked about putting on a workshop similar to the cybersecurity, where Judy would come in and train us on this and other issues, because there's so much around unemployment comp. And so if you are interested in an hour to 90-minute workshop like that, if you put a little yes in the chat, if we see enough interest, then we'll kind of move ahead. But I literally was just talking to her about this.
So, and just sort of to answer the question of what do you do if that unemployment compensation claim comes through? The first thing is, because I talked to a member recently who said, we've gotten a bunch of claims from employees who are still working here. We think the employees are committing fraud. So that's the first thing. Have a conversation with the employees. Chances are they did not file a claim at all, that somebody's trying to steal their identity. There is, in Pennsylvania, and I would imagine in most other states, a place to report fraud for unemployment compensation. The other thing that the employee is probably going to want to do is file a police report and start doing some credit checking to get out there to make sure that, because if this one thing is happening, there might be other things happening as well.
Yeah, and the problem right now with the police departments is that they're getting inundated with these requests. When I had to do it 6 weeks ago, they weren't quite inundated, but they were certainly getting them, but they are getting bombarded. So everything that Amy said is correct. But again, I think in this situation, it's probably not your employees, it's other people that are taking identities for sure.
Yeah, because that's the initial reaction, is that it's got my employees committing fraud because they still work here, they filed a claim, but no, chances are it's an identity theft situation.
Yeah, because what's happening is they're filling out the paperwork, they have information about your employee, but then they're directing the payment to some other place. Now, if it's your employee, for sure, that's something, but it's more of the former than the latter at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing a lot of yeses, so we will work with Judy, put something together and get that out there as a class, and most likely this would have HRCI and SHRM credits with it. So thank you for the quick response. And someone asked a question about the survey of the back to work. We are going to give it another week of gathering information. So on the 13th, the town hall on the 13th will publish results during this and then circulate it to members as well. One final note for members, because I know compensation is one of the biggest issues right now. People are trying to figure out where they are with that. For members, we do many compensation surveys, benefit surveys. We just released a couple of weeks ago the National Executive Comp Survey, which represents about 1,700 organizations. This is dealing with senior level positions. I believe it covers about 40 to 45 positions. So again, I know there's a hot market for CFO, COO, all sorts of executives. This is available and it's a national in scope. So you can see national as well as regional by size of company. So it's a great piece of information if somebody is concerned about kind of are they in the market. So that's available in the member tools for members. And I think we have done everything we've covered here so far. If you have any more specific questions on unemployment comp and you're a member, please call the hotline and Jane can help you or connect you with Judy, who is a wonderful expert in this. We use her a lot on questions that come up. All right, well, everybody have a happy holiday. We're so glad that you joined us and we will see you in 2 weeks.